Alright, so after a week of resting, we're back and we're here with the Duke 390. This bike just got dropped off by a friend of mine, so I'll link his channel below. So this is the Duke 390. This is the older version, and you can tell by the pipe inside the frame. So the newer versions have the pipe under the engine, and we'll review the 2021 version once we get our hands on it. But for now, let's take a look at Duke 390 or the corner rocket. So let's go. Okay, so this is actually my first time riding the Duke 390, and I gotta say, this bike is really quick and light for a 400cc naked bike. And even though I'm not really a fan of naked sports bikes, but after riding this bike for quite some time, it's really starting to grow on me. And speaking of looks, nothing much has really changed since this bike came out last 2017. It still has that angular and futuristic look that aged really well despite the fact that it's almost 4 years old. But what really surprised me is that despite its aggressive looks and Street Fighter design, surprisingly I was really comfortable riding the bike, even on stop and go traffic. And I guess it's partly because of the driving posture or the stance, which is surprisingly upright, and it's something that I really didn't expect for a bike that looks as aggressive as this. And speaking of aggressiveness, this bike is really aggressive. It has a very responsive throttle that is very torquey. It's as if the bike wants to do a wheelie every time you launch it. And like I said, it's very jerky, but it's surprisingly smooth when it comes to shifting and accelerating. It has this very linear delivery power, especially in the low and mid ends, that is perfect for overtaking and carving the corners. And yes, this bike is completely expressway legal and is 400cc on the paper, so it will never really have a problem maneuvering the wide and endless straight roads of our expressways, despite its obviously very light build. But I feel like where this bike shines is not on the expressway, but in the twisties of Marilake. So up we go! Okay, so there you go. Now I think I understand why people really love this Duke 390 and how it got its name, the corner rocket. Because it handled the Marilake twisties with ease, and I was smiling every time I squeezed the trigger going in and out of the corners. So yeah, definitely this bike is a really fun ride because of its nimble handling and light as a feather maneuverability. And if I were to compare this to other brands, I'd say this is equivalent to the Kawasaki Dominar 400 and the CF Moto NK 400, which I also considered getting as my first bike before. But yeah, in regular driving like in the city, the Duke still impressed me with its good visibility, especially with the tapered headlights, which gives the Duke 390 a commanding view of the road ahead because there's nothing blocking it. And pair that with the high seat height, there's definitely no doubt that this bike is a good daily ride for the city, except for the slightly stiffer front and rear suspension. But other than that, it's perfect for city riding and carving corners. But speaking of daily ride, if there's one thing that I didn't like about this previous generation Duke 390, is that the engine tends to get really hot in stop and go traffic. And I think it's partially because of the headers or the pipes placement, which is placed in the leg part or embedded in the frame of the old Duke 390. On highways, this isn't really a problem, but in traffic, you'll definitely notice the extra heat that comes out of the engine where your legs are located. So if you're planning to get the Duke 390, I highly suggest that you get the newer versions or the 2021 versions with the BS6 engine because they already move the headers or the pipes under the engine, so less heat is being transferred to your legs from the engine area. Although I haven't really tried it, but I'm pretty sure KTM already fixed this issue with the newer BS6 engines that is almost exactly the same as the older ones, but with 2 more catalytic converters for emission compliance in Europe. So good job KTM! And as for the creature comforts and the tech, I really like how this bike has a tablet-like full TFT display that is clear and simple but has everything that you'll ever need, and it's all displayed nicely and sharp. And not to mention, I also like how it changes from a dark panel to a lighter panel depending on the day. So that is definitely a welcome feature for me. But at the end of the day, the Duke 390 is still a solid bike with a solid foundation. I mean, you can never really go wrong with this as your first big bike or even your first bike. The striking looks alone is distinctly KTM, and even though I'm not really a fan of the orange color, you'll definitely know that it's built for speed once you see that orange accent overtaking you on the roads. It's a good mix of comfortable for daily rides and a fun bike on the weekends. Matched with a very responsive and torquey throttle, you'll never really run out of fun when riding this bike. And if there's one thing that I would change, it would definitely be the muffler, because I feel like the muffled sound kinda doesn't match the sporty and aggressive look of the bike. So yeah, that will be the first thing to go for me after the side mirrors. And at the end of the day, I feel like this bike is meant for someone who wants to go fast all the time. This bike is really built and is meant for a fun and thrilling ride or aggressive riding. You'll never really enjoy this bike at low speeds or maybe even highways because of its aerodynamics, because you'll definitely have much more fun and thrilling rides ripping the corners. Alright, and that's it. So thank you guys for supporting my channel. We've already crossed the 1000 subs mark, and next week I'll be putting up more videos with the Husqvarnas and the KTM. So definitely give us a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.